Hello, my name is Tyler, and in this project, we're going to be observing network traffic using multiple protocols, and we'll be observing network traffic between two virtual machines. We will also be setting up a network security group, which is Azure's form of a firewall. The virtual machines that will be used in this project were created in a previous project, and I will provide the link in the description below. So we're going to get started by heading to the virtual machines page, and we're going to open up our Windows virtual machine. So we're going to come over here and grab the public IP address. I'm going to hold the Windows key and press R, and we're going to run this command mstsc. So that stands for the Microsoft Terminal Services Client, and this is the application that Microsoft uses to be able to remotely connect into a computer. So we're going to run that application and put in the IP address here. Enter in the password, and now it's going to say that it cannot find the security certificate for the virtual machine, and that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and click yes. So the virtual machine's now loading, and the first thing that we're going to do is that we're going to install Wireshark. So Wireshark is a packet tracer. They're also called packet sniffers, and that is what we're going to be able to observe the network traffic with. We're going to head to Wireshark's website, download now, Windows x64 installer, and we're going to open the file. And we now have the Wireshark setup. Next, 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 and install. So we'll just wait a few minutes until Wireshark installs, and we're going to be using this program so we can go through our various network protocols and observe what happens as we filter out the traffic and run through a few protocols. Okay, installation is now complete, so we're going to go ahead and open up Wireshark. And here we see a few options. These are called the network interfaces, and if you hover the mouse over top of them, you'll see the IP address. So this one has no address. Then we come down to this one, and we see that it's 172.16.0.4, and this is the IP address for the virtual machine that we are using. And now that I open it up, you can see that there's a lot of information going on. These are all the packets that are happening with the network traffic. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to filter for ICMP. That's the Internet Control Message Protocol, and that's essentially ping. So we're going to ping another virtual machine, which is just to test the connection. So I'm going to downsize this virtual machine, and we're going to get the private IP address for the Linux virtual machine. We're going to click on it and scroll down here. And here we found the private IP address 172.16.1.4. And now back in the virtual machine, we're going to open up PowerShell. We're going to type ping and put the Linux virtual machine's IP address in. And now you can see that it's sent 4 packets. So there's a total of 8 packets that get sent, 4 sent from the Windows 11 virtual machine, and then 4 that are sent from the Linux virtual machine to say, hey, I received your ping. So we come over to Wireshark and we see the 8 packets that have been sent. The request reply, request reply, request reply, request reply. So that is the Windows 11 virtual machine requesting, and the Linux virtual machine replying. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to configure a firewall, and we're going to block the ICMP traffic. So the next time that we try to ping, it's not going to work because the firewall will stop the ping from coming in. So we're going to come over back to the Linux virtual machine, and we're going to come here to network settings. Right here, we're going to find Linux VM NSG, and that NSG stands for Network Security Group. So again, that is the firewall that's used in Azure. So we're going to open that up, and we're going to go to Inbound Security Rules. Once we come over here, we're going to click Add, and we're going to change the port range to an asterisk. And we're doing that, which means there is no port being used because ICMP does not use a port since it is used on the layer 2 OSI model. It's on the data link layer, and therefore no ports will be used during this. So we're going to come down and we're going to choose ICMP version v4. The action is going to be deny. And over here we see the priority for SSH, which is the secure shell, is at 300. So we're just going to set this below it at 299, because the lower the number, the higher the priority. Of course, we need a name, so we're going to just call this ping deny. We're going to come down here and click add. So it takes a moment for the security rule to go into place. We now see that it's here in the list of inbound security rules, and the action is to deny it. So next we're going to go ahead and try and we're going to ping again the Linux machine. So we're going to clear that traffic out, and we're going to return here to PowerShell. We're going to try again to ping the private IP address, which is the IP address on the network for the Linux virtual machine. And it's attempting to make the ping, and you see that the request timed out. So that's showing us that the firewall is working, and it will just continue to endlessly time out. We can come over here to Wireshark, and we'll see that the request is being sent, but there is no reply because the firewall or the network security group rule is blocking the ping traffic from coming in. So the next thing that we're going to do, close out PowerShell, and we're going to change the filter here to Secure Shell. And so we're going to use Secure Shell to remotely access the Linux virtual machine. And Secure Shell is like the RDP protocol, but instead of it being a graphical user interface, like what we're currently seeing with the virtual machine being open, the connection is going to be command line only. So we're going to open up Windows PowerShell here. We're going to type in SSH Linux VM, which is the name of the virtual machine at 172.16.1.4. And so that is the private IP address for that virtual machine. Going to enter in the password. And now you can see down here below, we are connected to the Linux virtual machine. And when we come over to Wireshark, we'll see all of these packets that occurred as that secure shell made that connection. So we're going to go ahead and exit out of the Linux virtual machine. I'm going to go ahead and clear out all that data. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to filter for DHCP traffic. So a DHCP is the Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, and the DHCP server will automatically configure an IP address for a new machine that has connected to the network. So it does a four-way handshake, and it's discover, offer, request, and acknowledge. So the discovery is that the virtual machine is going to say to the DHCP server, hey, is there an IP address available that I can use? And then the server is going to reply with an offer and say, I have this IP address available. Then the request is going to happen when the virtual machine says, okay, I'd like to take that IP address. And then there'll be the acknowledge. And that's whenever the server will say, okay, the IP address is yours. So in order to observe this happening, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have to create a script. And in the script, we're going to have IP config release. And so that's going to release the IP from this virtual machine. Then we're going to do IP config renew, which is going to ask the DHCP server for a new IP address. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And we'll put it here on C. And we're going to have to save that as a bat file. So we'll call that dhcp.bat. So that is now a script that we can run in PowerShell. So open up PowerShell now. And you can see that the current directory, it's in C Windows System 32. So we're going to change the directory to the C folder. And if we look in here, we have the dhcp.bat. So we have the script available. So we're going to run the script and observe what happens. Put /dhcp.bat, and that is now started running the script. And soon the virtual machine is going to be disconnected from the server. So we'll just wait until we lose connection. And there it goes. The IP address has been released. So this virtual machine currently does not have an IP address on the server. And the script is going to automatically run ipconfig /renew. So it's now received its new IP address. And if we come over here to Wireshark, we will see the four-way handshake has been recorded. So there's the release, and then the discover where the virtual machine asks the DHCP server for a new IP address. The DHCP server offered the new IP address. The virtual machine accepted it, and then the server acknowledged that the IP address was accepted. So we're going to go ahead and exit out and move on to our next protocol. So open up PowerShell again. And this time, we're going to filter for DNS traffic. DNS is the domain name server. So that is what gives IP addresses a name. So it uses letters so humans can understand. So instead of 8.8.8.8, we can type in www.google.com. So in order to observe this in action, we're going to come over here and we're going to put nslookup, and let's find the IP address for linkedin.com. And so we see we've found the IP address, and in that process, these are all the packets that were recorded from the DNS server for that query. We can also reverse that by looking for what is the name of a website if we have the IP address. So we'll put nslookup 8.8.8.8. That is the IP address for Google, and we see that that is the DNS server for Google. And over here on Wireshark, we're able to observe the traffic that happened and all the 4 packets that were captured. So the last protocol that we're going to look at here is the RDP protocol. And so we're going to observe RDP traffic. And that is all the traffic that's being run from the remote connection. This is what I'm currently using to connect to this virtual machine. So RDP is run on TCP port 3389. So we're going to change the filter so that can be observed. And you'll see that there is just an endless stream of packets coming through. And so anything that's occurring during the remote connection, this is now showing up. So that could be the blinking cursor that you see here, moving the mouse around, any change on the screen, the clock, anything that's happening is being recorded. So that is going to be the final protocol that we're looking at. And now that the project is completed, we're going to clean up the virtual machines and we're going to delete them because it does cost money to run virtual machines. So we don't want money to just go to waste. So we want to make sure that that gets deleted and there will be no charges. So I'm going to exit out here to close out the connection. And we're back in the Azure portal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for resource groups. And so here's the virtual machines. This is the resource group that the Linux and the Windows virtual machines are held into with all their data, including the network security group and the firewall rule that we had created. And so we're going to delete the resource group, which is going to just throw everything away here. So in order to delete that, we need to put the resource group's name into this bar down here. So we're going to paste the name and hit delete. Then it's going to ask, are you sure you want to delete? And we're going to confirm we do want to have the resource group deleted. So that is going to clean up everything. And that wraps up this project. Thank you very much for watching.